where we are. Gracious loving Father, we ask of you for light from your throne, for revelation from the Holy Spirit of truth, that we may be sealed and settled into the truth so that we cannot be removed. We know that we have to be preparing now for the end, and we ask of you to help us to prepare by sealing our hearts with the truth of this hour as the end draws near. We thank you again for hearing us and blessing us through Christ our Savior. Amen.
Amen.
And what we are talking about is the Sabbath Sign. The Sabbath Sign. Right now, as we have service here, a big controversy is going on in the Vatican. A terrible controversy is going on in the Vatican. We have already told you that Pope Francis is communist. And as a result of that, his policies have been destroying the Catholic Church into socialism. So they will have to remove him. Last week, a top cardinal called for his death. Literally called and said they will have to kill him to stop him. Last week, the Pope also said he was a revolutionary. Now that's pure communism. And as we talk right now, the Vatican seems to be falling in a terrible, terrible state, because the Pope went and denied one of the doctrines that the Catholic Church has held for 2,000 years. And as a result of that, they want him out. He is saying that there is nothing called hell. That souls just dissolve. Now if that is the case, many of the things that the Catholic Church teaches heresy. We know what the Bible tells us about hell. But what they are telling us, it clearly shows us that changes are coming to the Vatican. And that they are going to undergo a revival. And when they undergo a revival, we know one thing for sure. The end is near, even at the doors. So we are looking to see when this Pope is removed. When that happens, watch out. Because trouble is coming for all of us. Apart from all of that, plenty geological events are taking place upon the face of the earth, too numerous to show. 4,000 square miles in Texas sinking below. 4,000 square miles. That is more than 100 times bigger than Trinidad. Sinking below the ground. Cracks taking place all over, and a huge meteorite the size of Manhattan is heading towards the earth. The size of Manhattan. Scientists have already said they will send nuclear rockets to push it off the course or to blow it up. But this just shows you the real world in which we live now. That trouble is happening. And this is the reason why you were called. You were called by God to prepare, because cataclysmic things are going to happen. But before those cataclysmic things happen, you must have the assurance that you have the character of Christ in you. And through that, the nature of God in you. And through that, walking in obedience to God's commandments. However, we will do everything in our power to make sure we teach as much people as possible this science of salvation, that they will be ready for the end. So today we want to look at the Sabbath Sign. And turn with me to Isaiah chapter 58, and we will look at verse 12 to verse 14. Isaiah 58, 12 to 14. Is it followed? Isaiah 58, 12 to 14. 5:8. In this scripture here, the Bible prophesies a reformation to take place which will restore the seventh-day Sabbath. Many people do not understand that the Bible prophesies that the seventh-day Sabbath will be restored in the last days. And this scripture prophesies of it. Let's just read and see. From Isaiah chapter 58, 12 to 14. Now if you don't have a Bible, let me see it. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of what? Many generations. And thou shalt be called what? The repairer of the breach and what? The restorer of parts that were in. So in other words, a restoration was to take place. A repairing of the breach that was made was to take place. What is that repair? What is it talking about? The next verse tells us. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of Yahweh, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in Yahweh, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of Yahweh has what? Spoken it. So here a repair of the breach is to take place, a restore of parts to dwell in. And the thing we are told, first of all, is the seventh-day Sabbath. Since people were transgressing it, you are now to turn your foot from doing your pleasure on Yahweh's holy day. Is that understood? Amen. And this is how the repair of the breach takes place. It takes place when the Sabbath is returned. The Sabbath returned to the earth sometime after 1844. When the judgment was discovered going on in heaven, and the standard of the judgment was the law of God, what part they were breaking was the what? The law of God, the Sabbath, and so they rediscovered the Sabbath. So the Sabbath came back. Is that understood? Okay? Our first reading. You're reading this. Here's Mrs. White. Early writings, page 33. Here is what she told us. At the commencement of the time of trouble, this is the little time of trouble. Are you watching this? Yes. Pay attention. At the commencement of the time of trouble, we were filled with the Holy Ghost as we went forth and proclaimed the Sabbath what? More fully. Did you understand that? The Sabbath is a thing we must explain more fully to people. We must show people what it really means. When you understand what the Sabbath really means, that truth will see you into the seventh-day Sabbath, that it cannot be removed. But we are told that we must preach the Sabbath more fully. If you understand what the Sabbath means, then you will understand what it means to preach it more fully. So, let us first do something, let's start, and look at the constituents of the Sabbath, what makes up the Sabbath. Right? And then we're going to look at what makes up Sabbath. When you say Sabbath, what do you mean? What does the Bible show? Make it up. So you have the item in your mind when you say Sabbath, what the Bible means. Okay. And looking at the constituents of the Sabbath, you will see in your Bible it is made up of what? 7 days. The Sabbath is also made up of what? God's rest presence on the day itself. So when you are in the Sabbath, God's rest presence is there. And it is also made up of our special blessing on that day. Now that special blessing has many, many things in it. That is a study by itself. So now, let's look and see these 3 things are true. Let's see that the Sabbath is made up of the 7th day. Exodus 20:10. Exodus 20:10. Is it found? Cool. Notice what it tells us. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of what? Yahweh thy God. Could it be more explicit? It says, but the what? Seventh day is the what? Sabbath of Yahweh thy God. So we know one thing for sure. It is made up of the what? The seventh day. Is that understood? So when you say Sabbath, you know you are speaking about what day? The seventh day. So if somebody telling you don't know or you cannot find out when the Sabbath is, that's a lie. It would mean to say that God's commandments say to provide the means for us to obey, so we can be justifiably transgressors. But since that is not true, we told the seventh day is the what? Sabbath of Yahweh thy God. Now let us see. Yes, God's rest present. Hebrews 4.
According to the scripture, you say the seventh day after you see the Sabbath. So that means you can't see in your mind that a resolution from evening to the next evening is the Sabbath. What you can say is, you see the Sabbath and you see the seventh day, so that means the Sabbath falling on the seventh day. Because the law is eternal.
Amen. So Hebrews chapter 4, verse 3 and verse 4. Let's read the rest presence of God. Is it from? We read verse 3. For we which have believed do enter into what? Rest. As he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into what? My rest, although the works were finished from the what? Foundation of the world. For he spake in a certain place of what? The seventh day on this life. And God did what? Rest the seventh day from all his works. So the Sabbath is called Yahweh's rest. That's what it is called. It is his rest. And that's the reason why when you start to spend time with a solemn spirit and honesty and look at the Sabbath, you actually get God's presence with the day speaking to your mind. And that's why you call it my rest. So when they say the Sabbath day, it's not just the seventh day. It is the seventh day with God's rest what? Presence day. And because the same day that God puts our a special blessing. Let's look at this. Special blessing. Genesis 2:3. Genesis 2:3. We read. It says this. And God blessed the seventh day. Did you just see that? Yes. He blessed what day? The seventh day. It says the seventh day with God's rest presence and a special blessing of God. And let's see why he blessed it. Let's see. Because of his rest presence. Let's see. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and what? And made. So then when we speak about the constituents of the Sabbath, or what makes up the Sabbath, you're speaking about the what? The seventh day. You're speaking about what? God's rest presence on that seventh day, and you're speaking about what? Special blessing on the seventh day. That's the Sabbath. So you know if somebody wants to create a new Sabbath, they will somehow have to try and get God to what? Rest on it and bless it. And he ain't going to do that. Is that understood, my dear brother? So this is it. Now the next thing that we want to look at here is an error that is being made in the traditional Adventist church. This error downgrades what it means to keep the Sabbath. And it is a plot of the devil to make them give up the Sabbath in the end. So you're going to see a small video clip here of it from the president of the General Conference. There are two major wrongs in what he's saying, but one is what we want to emphasize right now. Next video.
The day of worship becomes one other than the seventh-day Sabbath. And in fact, the mark of the beast would be the worship of God on any other day than that particular day. And in fact, the mark of the beast would be the worship of God on any other day than that particular day. The mark of the beast would be the worship of God on any other day than that particular day. The mark of the beast would be the worship of God on any other day than that particular day.
Two rooms in that. The mark of the beast is worshiping God on any other day but the Sabbath. The Bible tells us it's the first day of the week, not any other day. Alright? Secondly, what he's telling us is worshiping on the Sabbath. So then keeping the Sabbath day is worshiping on the day. So they tell us the day on which we worship. Right? Now that day on which you worship is itself is the Sabbath to give you an impression that the Sabbath is the day on which you worship. And that is what it means to keep the Sabbath as well. Because you're supposed to worship God what? Every day of the week. So if keeping the Sabbath is worshiping God on the seventh day, and you're supposed to worship God on what? Every other day, then Sunday has a little credibility too. Because you're supposed to worship God on that day too. So what we want to do, I want to show you what the Bible says about keeping the Sabbath. We just looked at the constituents of the Sabbath, the making up of the Sabbath. We now want to look and see what is the constituents of Sabbath keeping. What it means to keep the Sabbath. What Sabbath keeping is made up of. That's what we want to look at. So that if you have this, you're keeping the Sabbath. And we want to say, we will never say worship God on the day. Because it's supposed to worship God every day. That emphasis that they are making is false. And it's going to lead to trouble in the future. Okay, my dear? We want to show you what the Bible says about the makeup of Sabbath keeping. And then we want to propose a new word to identify what it means to keep the Sabbath from the Bible. Amen. You will be shocked. This Bible is here all the time. And all you have to do is explore the Holy Spirit directing you and you will learn new things. Amen. So, next chart.
Yeah, that's one more thing. Right?
Yeah.
The next thing that as important in real reality is that after one Sabbath, right, you had like experience during the week, right? We know the Sabbath was 47 days based on the will of God. But even after the Sabbath pass, from Sunday on Tuesday, you still have that experience in your mind. As I highlight, so you have a zeal and thirst for the next Sabbath, right? It is you want to. So when the next Sabbath comes, it's still keeping the fourth commandment, but this is just the fourth commandment experience and meaning drop on a Sabbath day. So you keep it on the whole commandment.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now what you look at here is the constituents of keeping the Sabbath. Once you say when you keep the Sabbath, what must be chosen? What day must be chosen? You can't choose the first day of the week. The day you must choose is what? The seventh day of the week. If you want to keep the Sabbath, the making up of Sabbath keeping firstly, you must select what? The seventh day of the week must be chosen. Let's see that. Let's look at that. Hebrews chapter 4. Again. Verse 3 and verse 4. Pay attention. Verse 3. For we which have believed. Did you see that? You the believer. For we which have what? Believed. What does it say? Do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into what? My rest. Although the works were finished from the what? What was God talking about? What is entering into his rest? What is we entering into his rest? Here's what we are told. The next verse tells us, verse 4. For he spake in a certain place of the what? Seventh day on this wise. And God did rest the seventh day from what? All his works. Did you see that, my dear brothers? So in other words, you want to keep the Sabbath? The making up of keeping the Sabbath, you must select one day, the seventh day. You must find the seventh day. And when you find the seventh day, other things must happen. For instance, your Bible tells you that if you are unconverted, you cannot keep the seventh-day Sabbath. So you may get the right day, but you may have the wrong experience because you're not what? Converted. So the next important thing is what? Inner conversion on that day. So you have the seventh day and you have conversion. Inner conversion on that day. That's what you must have. Proof of it? Let's look at Hebrews chapter 4 again, but this time we start from verse 1 to verse 4. Is it wrong? It goes on. Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. Hold on here. The promise is made by God of you entering into what? His rest. You have to be careful lest you come short of it. How do you come short of it? Let's read. For unto us was the gospel preached as well as unto them. Did you see that? But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that were. Here it is. For we which have believed do enter into rest. As I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this night, and God did rest the seventh day from all his works. So here is what we are told here. The word preached was not mixed in with faith in them that heard it. So they hear the word, but it is not a revelation to them. It's like some people preaching, and what they're preaching is not a revelation of the love of God. They're not seeing the revealed truths of God in it. So we are told it was not mixed in faith in them that heard it. So you see, the point about it is, the just shall live by faith. And if they did not have that faith with the Sabbath, then obviously those people who did not have what? Inner conversion. Did you see that, my dear brothers? Did you see that? But that's not all. The Bible tells us that the law cannot be kept if it is not done by divine faith. Faith must be the motivator. Now the seventh day Sabbath is part of the Ten Commandments. Is that not so? So if it is to be kept, that keeping must be motivated by what? Faith. Because if it is not motivated by faith, you're just doing works. That's why an unconverted man may say, I'm not going to work today on the Sabbath. And then he stay home and lie on, he's not keeping the Sabbath. Because you have to be what? Converted. You have to be motivated by what? Divine faith to keep the Sabbath. Is that understood, my dear brother? Watch this. Let's see that this is a fact. Romans chapter 9, 31 and 32. Romans chapter 9, 31 and 32. Watch this. Divine faith must be motivated. Watch this again. Romans chapter 9, 31 and 32. Is it wrong? But Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, did they follow it? Yes. They followed after the what? Law of righteousness, had not attained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore, or why? Because they sought it not out of faith, but as it were by the works of the law. What is this telling us? That ancient Israel, when they heard about the Sabbath, when they were supposed to keep the Sabbath or any other thing, they did not keep the law by faith. They just say, let me do the law. If If you do it on your own strength, you're making yourself a failure. You see, God wants faith to motivate you, so that He will be the one that caused it, and not you. So Israel was doing following after the law of righteousness, but they did not attain to the law of righteousness. They were not really keeping it, because they did not seek it by faith. And since the Sabbath is part of the law, it would mean that ancient Israel was not really keeping the Sabbath. That's why they did not enter into God's rest. What did He say? Because the word wasn't mixed with faith. Look at Romans chapter 3 verse 31. Again it tells us, is it from? Now watch this. Again, do we then make void the law through the faith? God forbid. Yea, what? We establish the law. So through faith, what do? Establish the law. That's what you do. You do not make void the law through faith. So, since the Sabbath is part of the law, for you to keep the law, or for you to keep the Sabbath and not make it void, you must be motivated by what? Faith. Is that understood, my dear friend? Do you get that correct? Now let's quickly move on to our next point. Part of keeping the Sabbath is sin-freeness in the person on that day. Sin-freeness must exist in the person on that day. If I lie and steal on a Tuesday, I have sinned by lying and what? Stealing. But I did not break Tuesday. I did not break Tuesday. But if you lie and steal on the Sabbath, 3 wrongs have now been committed. The lying, the stealing, and the what? Breaking of the Sabbath. It clearly shows us that on the Sabbath day, the person must be free from sin. If you're free from sin, then you're really keeping the Sabbath. Amen. What is the best way to ensure you're keeping the Sabbath? Be sin-free. Which is by faith. So I want to show you a scripture where ancient Israel did all sorts of wrongs, not on the Sabbath day, but God still said they profane the Sabbath. Why? Because when you do all those wrongs and you're unconverted, when you face the Sabbath with sin in you, what does happen? You're breaking the Sabbath. Ezekiel 23. 37 to 39. Ezekiel 23. To 39. Once those wrongs are done on the Sabbath day, and you are not sin-free, you're breaking the Sabbath. So you have to be sin-free on that day. That's the constituents of Sabbath today. Watch this. We read verse 37. That they have committed adultery, and blood is where? In their hands. And with their idols, they have what? Committed adultery, spiritual adultery. And have also caused their sons, whom they bear unto me, to pass for them through the fire to devour them. So they had this ceremony where they had a big fire burning, and they would take the little and they would pass the children through the fire, and the child got burned up. And that was a sacrifice for God. And they would be doing that on the 7th day Sabbath. Let's read. Moreover, this have they done unto me in the same day, and have what? Profaned my Sabbath. So this they did when? In the same day, and have what? Profaned my Sabbath. So they did it on the Sabbath. Now the problem here is their wrongs were just extreme. Okay, my friend? But the point you're looking at here, they were doing that transgression on the Sabbath day. So likewise, To keep the Sabbath day, you need to be what? Sin-free. So the constituents of Sabbath keeping is the seventh day must be chosen. Inner conversion must exist on that day in you. Faith, divine faith must be the motivator for you doing it. And you must be sin-free on that day. That's what it means to keep the Sabbath. This clearly shows it can only be done by faith. It can only be done by God. If this is your experience, you say, how am I to be ensured that I'm sin-free? Study the Word. Have the truth of God in your mind. If the truth of God is in your mind, no idols are there. No wrong is there. So you have faith as a motivator, and because you are what? Sin-free. Then you chose the right way. Amen? And since you have faith, you are convertibility. That's the constituent of Sabbath keeping. But, next one. Next shot. But, the phrase keep the Sabbath. The phrase keep the Sabbath. It does not mean to worship on the seventh day. It does not mean to worship on the seventh day, as the leaders have been telling us. It is a keeping that is a fulfillment of the Sabbath day. So if we are telling you keep the Sabbath, it's like if we say fulfill the Sabbath. It would mean you have to follow the requirements of the Sabbath. Amen. And when you fulfill it by faith, then you're doing what? Keeping the Sabbath. So keeping the Sabbath, we wouldn't say the day on which we worship. We would say keep the what? Sabbath or what? Fulfill the Sabbath, which the Bible explains as to what? Do and teach the Sabbath, right? Which it also explains to obey the Sabbath requirements by faith. That's what your Bible explains. So, let's look at it. Matthew 7:15. Matthew 7:15. The key word here is fulfilled. We read Matthew 5:17. Did I say 7:15? Matthew 5:17. Matthew 5:17. Is it found? We read, take not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy but what? Fulfill. So Jesus presents obeying the law as fulfilling it. Amen. Did you see that? So if you fulfill the law, you are in obedience to the law. But what does it mean to fulfill? Since the Sabbath is part of the law, to fulfill the law is to fulfill the Sabbath. Is that understood? But what did Jesus show? Fulfill to me. There was an evangelical pastor who told me this. He says, I have this document. This document tells me I am to pay you $5,000 as a certain point in time. I meet you at this certain point in time and I will pay you this $5,000. Do I owe you anything else? I said, no. He said, right, so when you fulfill, you don't have to do it again. That's what he told me. But let's see how Jesus presents what? Fulfill. So that means they can obey the law now and then break it later. That's what you're telling us? Let's see how Jesus presents fulfill. Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall what? Do and what? Teach. The same shall be called what? Great in the kingdom of heaven. So Jesus is that fulfilling is to do and to what? Teach. So when it comes to keeping the seventh-day Sabbath, it means fulfilling the seventh-day Sabbath. It means doing it and what? Teaching it. Now to fulfill the seventh-day Sabbath, it means it has certain requirements. And if you are fulfilling those requirements, it means you're doing those requirements by faith. Because remember the Bible says, do we then make void the law what? Through faith, God forbid the what? Establish the law. So once the law is established in your life, it means the Sabbath keeping is established in your life. So faith makes you keep the seventh-day Sabbath. So keeping is fulfilling. Fulfilling is what? Doing and teaching, and also what? Obeying the Sabbath requirements by faith. Let's see the requirements of the Sabbath. Yes, my dear. I can do it.
What is the difference when someone say they are not keeping the Sabbath, but they are observing the Sabbath? What is it?
Unless they explain what observe means, we're going to get in trouble with it. Because in the Bible, observation could also mean non-participation. Like for instance, I stand and I observe what is going on, but I don't participate. We don't need to observe the Sabbath, we need to fulfill its requirements. So for the look at Exodus 20. Exodus 20. First requirement, remember the Sabbath day to what? Keep it holy. Did you see that? You must remember the Sabbath days. You see, many of us live a riotous life and we forget that the Sabbath is coming. Every Monday the Sabbath is coming in at the end of the week. So it's every Wednesday. So you must what? Remember the Sabbath day during the week, knowing that it is coming, so that you're living for it. So one requirement, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Let's go. It goes on. 6 days shall thou labor and do what? All thy work. That's another requirement. The Sabbath itself tells you to do your work in how much days? 6 days. Then it tells you the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahweh. So if you obey the requirements of the Sabbath clause, you'll make sure you do your work in the 6 days. Amen? That is fulfilling the Sabbath. It goes on. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahweh. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son nor thy daughter, thy manservant nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So here we are being told that we must do non-servile labor. In other words, you must not be doing secular labor on that day. So if you are fulfilling the Sabbath, you're fulfilling its requirements. You're doing what it says to do by faith. Because the just shall live by faith. And do we then make void the law through faith? No, what do? Establish the law. So you're actually fulfilling the requirements of the law. So, our proposal here is that from this day onward, when we say keeping the Sabbath, we will make sure we do not mean worship God on that day. But we will make sure that we show people the real God, fulfilling the Sabbath, which is the word. Do it and what? Teach it, which is the word.
Obey the Sabbath requirements by faith.
Beautiful. I forgot to say. Yes.
I see it as a continuous, see that it do the present, and have to continue, just as the Sabbath is perpetual.
Yes.
That's why it can never be fulfilled, it can never be done away with.
That's right.
Because the Sabbath itself is perpetual and everlasting.
If you fulfill it, and you say, well, I've done do it, I don't have to do it, you're not fulfilling it. Amen? Do you get that clear, my dear brethren? Now, so we're talking about the 7th-day Sabbath. Next chapter. Although Jesus spoke about showing the meaning of his death by the new Pesach or the new Passover, Jesus said, as often as you do this, you show forth my word, death till I come. He didn't say resurrection. So although Jesus spoke about showing the meaning of his death by the new Pesach, and this was done by the early church, traditionally on the 14th of the first Jewish month, Nisan, on whatever date occurred. Listen to me carefully. So this is what the early church would do. They want to break bread and drink wine. So what would they do? It must show Jesus' death. When did Jesus die? On the 14th of the first month, the first Jewish month. So what would they do? They would choose the 14th of the first month and eat bread and drink the wine. So every 14th of the first month per year, they would actually break bread, drink wine. That's what the early church would do. However, it was a Sunday Passover, which the church knew nothing about, that was first used by a bishop in the leading church in the city of Rome to bring Sunday keeping to the church that kept only the seventh-day Sabbath. The word requirement, what does the word requirement mean? It means something is asked of you to do. So if God requires that you do something, he asks you to do something. He looks forward to you doing it. That's what the word requirement means. Now let's continue. So here's what happened. The new Pesach or new Passover usually kept on the 14th of the first Jewish month, Nisan, by the early church. That which they did was in honor of the death of Christ. That's what your Bible tells you. Let's look at it. 1 Corinthians 11, 23 to 26. Watch this, pay attention. You're leading somewhere. 1 Corinthians chapter 11. 23 to 26. Paul speaking. For I have received of the Lord that which also I delivered unto you, that the Lord Jesus, in the same day in which he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he brake and said, Take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. What does it mean when he says remembrance of me? He continues. After the same manner, also he took the cup, when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye, as oft as you drink it, in remembrance of me. Did you see that? So you eat the bread and you drink the wine in remembrance of Christ. Remember what? There are many, many things to remember about him. But there's a particular thing that emphasizes. Listen. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he what? Come. The Lord's what? Death. So God never meant for us to show the resurrection. He meant for us to show the what? The meaning of his death. When you understand the meaning of his death, you understand how you were saved. And it was a symbol Christ left to show us how we are saved. This is the reason why the issue was the meaning of his death, not his resurrection. Are you listening to me? Now you know, Sunday came to the church and was keeping the Sabbath alone. The early church knew nothing about Sunday keeping. Watch this. I quote from Sabbath and Sunday in the early Christianity book. Roman Catholic tradition definitely points to Pius the First. To who?
Pius the First.
As the bishop who instituted the holding of the Lord's Supper on Sunday in the yearly celebration of the ecclesiastical Pascha on the Pascha. Watch. Pius the First is traditionally believed to have instituted the observance of Sunday by what? Christians. It was Pius the First who first recommended that Christians keep Sunday as a Passover Sunday. They will tell you, forget the 14th of Nisan. We have given you a Sunday, and on that Sunday, instead of eating bread and drinking wine on the 14th, to show is that eating and drinking on the Sunday instead. Are you listening to me? Next slide. Eating and drinking on what day? The Sunday instead. Watch this here now. By the way, anybody still think that Easter with the bunny rabbit is a new invention? Look, he had it in ancient cafe. So we are just revisit. Right? Now, what is this word up there? That's your pronunciation. The people used to pronounce it as Easter. The I had an I sound. Easter weekend. Good Friday. Glorious Saturday. Easter Sunday. After the full moon. The Lord's Supper on that day is what you eat. So here's what the bishops did. They copied from a group called the Christian Gnostics in the city of Alexandria in ancient Egypt. You'll observe when you read the book of Acts, God never sent any apostle in Egypt. Nobody was sent to preach the truth in Egypt. But then they're taking tradition from Egypt. That's senseless. So they took from Alexandria a concept that they had structured, a false kind of Christianity there. Here was what that false Christianity did. They did this, watch. They wait for the full moon. They chose the first Sunday after the full moon. And then they check backwards. Now this will be in the first month, but it won't be the 14th or the 16th. They just wait for the moon to determine the Sunday they choose. So if the moon determines the Sunday you choose, you're choosing on the basis of paganism. So they allow the moon to determine the Sunday, and then they check backwards. The Saturday we will call that Glorious Saturday, and the Friday we will call that Good Friday. But we will not emphasize people eating bread and wine on Friday the 14th, or whatever day it is. We will emphasize eating it on a Sunday. And then tell the church, keep that day for the Passover. That's how it came. So Ishtar was used, Ishtar weekend was what the Catholic Church used to smash Sabbath keeping in the early church. Because eventually this was legislated. And it became law in the Roman Empire from Constantine after the Council of Nicaea had sat. And they passed laws and said, yeah, cool. The religion, according to the Bishop of Rome, is what you must keep. And this was the religion according to the Bishop of Rome. Who is Pius the First? Bishop of Rome. So what do you have here? You have that perversion brought in by the Bishop of Rome, and this influenced people. This was used to break the seventh-day Sabbath. However, look at the next chart. This is what your Bible shows about the death of Christ. This is the Passover weekend. You had Easter weekend, now we have the what? Passover weekend. The Bible says, what? 14th of Nisan, the first one, the death of Christ on a Friday, because the 14th fell on a Friday that day. But the 14th doesn't always fall on a Friday. Yes, we have the Good Friday every year. Then when you look here, the 15th of Nisan, this in the Bible is called the first day of the Feast of the God, Leavened Bread. It is a Passover Sabbath, a ceremonial Sabbath. And strange enough, that fell, Christ rested in the grave on that day, and that fell on what? Saturday, the what? The 7th day Sabbath. So the 7th day Sabbath was a double Sabbath at that time. A ceremonial, high day it is called. It was a Passover Sabbath, the 15th, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, plus it fell on the 7th day Sabbath. During that time, Christ was still in the grave. Did you see that? And then on the 16th of Nisan, the Bible speaks about waving first fruits. This symbolizes what? Resurrection of Christ, and it fell on a what? Sunday. So that is the Passover weekend according to the Bible. Because now is Christ risen from the dead and become the what? First fruits of them that what? Slept. So the resurrection of Christ is the first fruits. So this is the real Passover. But it doesn't always fall on a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday, because the 14th doesn't always fall on a Friday. Yes, my dear. Yes.
But Passover, people who have the symbols and spirits, they will be the Passover. They the Passover, you know.
Yes. They do keep the Passover, but they don't keep it on the day. Because Christ didn't say do it on a 14th. He said, as oft as you do it, you show forth my death till I come. It is just the early church being conservative shows the 14th the day when Christ died. Some also do it, they do it on a Sabbath. But it doesn't matter. Once it is showing the death of Christ, not his resurrection. Amen? Yes. Yes. Yes.
Chant before.
Go back to the chant before. Yeah, come to you know, I just this brother and you.
Right. So in prophecy in Daniel 7:25, we are told about a power who will think to change times and laws. Right? But here we only contrast that to what Christ said in Matthew 5:17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law. I didn't come to destroy, but to fulfill.
Yes.
Here we see that the thinking of the one who would think to change time now, you clearly see in the other chart now. The first one, the next one.
Yes.
Right. This here now is the original time for the Passover.
Yes.
But the thinking of that power is to change this. We saw that thinking is the maneuvering of pious first, and that was the thinking.
And then giving us a resurrection to symbolize, like eating bread and when it's supposed to show the what? Death of God. And the death was on the what? 14, not only 16. The 16 was the resurrection. So that's why the Bible doesn't want us to look at the day, it wants us to look at the date. Did somebody get that? The Bible doesn't want us to look at the day, it wants us to look at the date. Amen? Of course, if you were born on a Friday, every year you go and celebrate Friday for your birthday. It may fall on Tuesday or Wednesday, right? So we are looking at the what? Date, not the day. Right. So here comes the real part of our story. Oh, brother, sorry.
Can you give us an explanation on Acts chapter 12, verse 1 to 4?
Acts 12, 1 to 4. Acts 12, they said that? Yeah. 1 to 4. Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to very certain of the church. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter. Then were the days of unleavened bread. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Pesach to bring him forth to the people. The word there is not Easter. That translation is not. The word there is Passover. Right? So it was the days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We started on the 15th. And it was opened up after the Passover festival was finished. They would go and kill Peter. So the word Easter there is not Easter in the original. It is Passover. Or Pesach in the Hebrew. Okay? Okay, notice it is associated with the days of unleavened bread. We start in the 15th, sorry. Yes, my dear.
So I understand, I know that the word there would have been Pesach, right? But given that it says prior that it was days of unleavened bread, given that it says prior that it was the days of unleavened bread, which we know comes after the Passover, like how? Because he wouldn't have waited a whole year before he so
Passover would have ended on the 22nd. And then afterwards we would have killed Peter. Because the days of unleavened bread is 7 days.
right.
It would have ended on the 22nd. So that's after that, then there was the murder of Peter.
So the days of unleavened bread was counted together with the
It was called Passover. Because of the law, they were teaching Passover lamb. That's why this is called a Passover Sabbath. Okay? Good. So now let's forget all this and get into the real point. The real point of this study is to show you the value of the 7th day Sabbath. Since the days that we are facing now is intended to carry us through the motions that was done in the past that attack the 7th day Sabbath, we need now to look at the value of the 7th day Sabbath. Now, first of all, the Sabbath is a symbol of various things. It's a sign, sorry, not symbol, sign of various things. Watch this. Hold. This here is a video showing that sodomy is always an apostasy from the 7th day Sabbath. Once they don't believe in the 7th day Sabbath, it's easy to break the Sabbath. Man and man, woman and woman. Because they do not believe in the 7th day Sabbath. This is a fact. I want to show you what's going on in the Catholic Church, but not yet. The next video will show you what's going on in the 7th day Adventist Church. Let's just go forward and stop. Sodomy is a sign of Sabbath what? Apostasy. I will show you this video in a while. But let's go now to the next shot. This is what we started. Did you see that? 20 various things the Sabbath is a sign of. All proven in the Bible. And make sure you see scripture alone. That's the reason why the Sabbath is important for you. That's the reason why you must keep the Sabbath day holy. Because the Sabbath is a sign of these 20 points. So we will start with point 1, and then when we reach point 6, we will go back to the videos. Okay? So let's see that the Sabbath is a sign of the what? Name Yahweh. But before we do that, let's look at the name Yahweh a little bit quickly. Here. Watch this. Isaiah 42:8. Isaiah 42:8. Let's look at it. Remember, when you see what? Capital L-O-R-D. The actual word there in the Bible is okay, remember that, right? So let's read. Verse 8. Just the first one. I am Yahweh. That is my name. Did you hear that? So the true name of God is not Jehovah. It is what? Yahweh. He said, I am Yahweh. What did he say? That is my name. Now, did he change his name later on? Exodus chapter 3, 14 and 15 tells us. Let's go. Exodus chapter 3, 14 and 15. Here's what it tells us. Did he change his name? Let's read. Verse 14 and 15. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am, and sent me unto you. And God said moreover unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh, God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, hath sent me unto you. This is my name, what? Forever. And my memorial unto how much? All generations. So he never changed his name. It still is Yahweh to all generations. Are you a generation now? Yes. So what is his name? Yahweh. So whosoever in Saudi Arabia in the 600s come up with the name Allah, they forgot what the Bible said. But they put that as his name. He said his name was what? Yahweh unto what? All generations. They call it Jehovah because Jehovah was what you call a make-up translation. Let me show you. What? Let's look at Jehovah. Quickly. Jehovah. Okay? J is what? H. V is W. H. Okay? So what scholars did all in the 1300s? You take the word E for Elohim, the word for God, and put it there. Okay? They didn't used to say Y, they used to say J. So they didn't say Y, they just say J. Take the E for Elohim and put it there. Okay? And then they take the A for Adonai and put it there. And they just added this O to make it sensible. So they come and say Jehovah. But that really wasn't it. It was Yahweh. How do you know? Praise God. What would he say? Hallelujah. What would he say? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Jehovah? No. Hallelujah. Yeah. Isaiah? Yeah. Or Isaiah Jehovah? Jeremiah? Yeah. Or Jeremiah Jehovah? So you will know what is the original name. Okay? That's the original name. Okay? Remember that. And it says under all generations, which is you know, you're a generation now. So even now his name is Yahweh. The name Yahweh. So we know one thing for sure. It is his name. It is his name under all generations. But the Bible tells us sister. And the Sabbath is a sign of the name. Ezekiel 20:20. The Sabbath is a sign of that name. Ezekiel 20:20. Yes. Yes. You ready? Ezekiel 20:20. Let's look at it. And hallow my what? Sabbath. And there shall be a sign. There is a sign word again. Between me and you, that you may know that I am what? Yahweh your God. So the Sabbath is a sign of what name? Yahweh. Amen? Amen? Amen. Right, the next thing, the Sabbath is a sign that Jesus is Yahweh. In a temple of flesh. That's what your Bible shows you. The Sabbath is a sign that Jesus is Yahweh. Let's see if you can see it, eh? You ready for this one? Zechariah 2. 8 to 11 first of all. Zechariah 2. 8 to 11. Now all of you who are reading, you are required to think. You are required to what? Think. Reason. Let's read. Ready? 8. For thus said Yahweh of hosts. Who is speaking? I didn't hear you. Yahweh of hosts. For thus said who? Yahweh of hosts. After the glory had he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that touched you, touched the apple of his eye. So wait. That's okay. Watch this. Let's see if you can follow me. Follow me in your Bible. What did you see here, by the way? A sent Yahweh and a what? A sent Yahweh. Let's see if we find it. Let's read. We go again, verse 8. So thus saith Yahweh of hosts, after the glory had he what? Sent me unto the nations that what? Spoiled me. So who is speaking here? Yahweh. Which one? Sent Yahweh. Thus said Yahweh, after the glory had he sent me. So this is a sent Yahweh. He is saying he was sent. Is that understood? Let's read on. Verse 9. For behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And ye shall know that Yahweh of hosts hath sent me. So that one is what? The sender Yahweh. So Yahweh is saying he's sent by who? Yahweh. So you have a what? A sent Yahweh and a what? A sender Yahweh. Did you see that? But you'll be shocked to see something. Let's move it. Verse 10. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, the church. For lo, I come. For lo what? I come. So somebody's coming to Zion, the church, right? He called himself what? I. For lo what? I come. And I dwell in the midst of thee. Say what? Yahweh. Did you see that? So the one who comes now to dwell in the midst is the what? Sent Yahweh. So Yahweh sent Yahweh. Let's read. Verse 11. And many nations shall be joined to Yahweh in that day, and shall be my people, and I will dwell in the midst of thee. And thou shalt know that Yahweh of hosts hath what? Sent me unto thee. Did you see that? So Yahweh is saying he was sent by a what? A Yahweh. He sent the Yahweh. So what is this telling us here? One person is called the sender Yahweh, the other person is called the sent Yahweh. Did you see that? Because the nature of God is what is playing. The body of Jesus is not God. What did the Bible tell you? God was in Christ, reconciling the world unto himself. So the body of Jesus is not God. But in the body of Jesus was God. And he is called the what? The sent Yahweh, sent by God, who is the what? Sent Yahweh. Did you see that? So did you know what Jesus did? To show that he was God, here is what Jesus did in Mark 2.
Brother Melina, why sometimes they have V instead of the W? Sometimes they put a V instead of the W, like Y-A-V.
It depends upon how you say it. Watch. Let me pronounce it, watch. Yahweh. I say the V. Now I say the W. Yahweh. The better pronunciation is where. Now I actually found it here, I just lost the scripture, I'll get it back, don't worry. Literally found it right here in the Bible, when the word was where, not there. But they put the V sometimes, because the V is half of a W. You understand? And they say Yahweh.
And sometimes they also say Yahuwah, like Y-A-H-W.
Yahuwah. They put an A in between and they say Yahuwah. But if you really check, there's no U in it. But what archaeologists have done, they have found the ancient name of Yahweh written as Yahu. Y-A-H-U. So some say that since they found that in carvings, we should call him Yahweh. That's what they say. But what they didn't tell you, they also found the word Y-A-H-2. So why take the U? You understand? Okay? And always remember, watch. Watch this. Make a pronunciation for me. Watch this. Yahoo. Yahoo is a full name. Hallelujah. Yahoo. Jeremiah Yahoo. Isaiah Yahoo. Is that what you see? No. Then let's forget what they found in archaeology, because they also found that in archaeology too. Okay? You got it right? So take the Mark chapter 2. So remember the name Yahweh. Let's see what Jesus told us. 27 and 28. They got it. Jesus said this. And he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore the Son of Man is what? Yahweh also of the Sabbath. Did you just see that? Jesus is saying the Son of Man is the Yahweh of the Sabbath. So the Sabbath shows that Jesus is what? Yahweh. Now some say I see capital L, common O, common R, common G. The Greek would have written it as Adonai. Adonai would be a replacement of the word Yahweh. So if you go back before all of them, and you check this name, the actual name there is what? Yahweh. So Jesus is saying, the Son of Man is what? Yahweh of the what? Sabbath day. Does the Sabbath day show any Adonai? No. What does the Sabbath day show? Yahweh. So you know Jesus is saying the Son of Man is what? Yahweh of the Sabbath. So the Sabbath is a sign that Jesus is what? Yahweh. And Jesus is Lord. Thank you. You got that one? Okay. The Sabbath is also a sign that God created. Right? Because he is the one? Creator. Creating didn't make him the creator. It is because he is the creator he what? Created. So the Sabbath is also a sign that what? God was created. Exodus 20. Don't be weary while doing. Learn this because these truths are set in your heart into the seal of God that it cannot be removed. These truths are important for you because it is settling you into the truth so that it cannot be what? Removed. When you learn all this about the Sabbath, how can you want to deny it? You can't deny it and say when Jesus is the Yahweh on the Sabbath. Amen? You can't say you're looking to Allah when your name is Yahweh unto all generations. The Sabbath is a sign. Amen? Amen? Watch me. Every time you come to church meeting on a 7th-day Sabbath, you are showing all of it. You are showing all of it. Every time you come to a church meeting, this is the witness coming from you. That's a beautiful witness. Watch this. The Sabbath also shows that God created. That is the creator. Look at verse 10 of Exodus. Verse 11 of Exodus. 20:11. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath and day and what? So you see clearly, he created. So the Sabbath shows Yahweh what? God what? Created. Because he's the what? Creator. So that's what the Sabbath shows. Anytime you keep in the Sabbath, you're showing who's the real creator. No, that's what you're telling the world. Who is the real creator? And I'm sure you don't want to give a false witness, do you? No. Let's look again. The Holy Spirit is creator God. That is what the Sabbath shows. You see, one divine nature in 2 persons. So the Holy Spirit is creator God. Let's see, this is Genesis 1:2 first. We read. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. So get this idea now. The earth is created, it's mixed up. Air, soil, water, everything is mixed up as one big group. So the Holy Spirit started to move upon the face of the water. He is doing something. He's starting to organize it. Because the Holy Spirit is the agent that God used to do creating. Proof of it. Psalm 104. Verse 30. Psalms 104. Verse 30. Verse 30. Thou sendest forth thy spirit, they are what? Created. And thou what? Renewest the face of the earth. Then the Holy Spirit is created. Then the Holy Spirit is creator. Then the Sabbath, which shows creatorship, is saying that the Holy Spirit is creator. Let's look again. Job 33:4. Job 33:4. Quickly. Job 33:4. The Spirit of God has made me. Did you see that? And the breath of the Almighty has given me life. Spirit of God has made me. So God uses the Holy Spirit to create. Since the Sabbath is a sign of God being the creator, then the Sabbath is a sign of the Holy Spirit is the what? Creator God. Did you see that, my dear brother? The seventh-day Sabbath is a sign of creation week. Genesis 2, 1-3. Genesis 2, 1-3. Let's see creation week. In the Bible's teaching, creation week is only 6 days and maybe 7th day. Not millions of years. And the seventh-day Sabbath is a sign of creation week. Okay? Let's look at it. Chapter 2 from verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. Did you see that everything was finished? And on the seventh day, God ended his work, which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work, which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that today he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So that if it was the seventh day he did that work, and therefore everything was finished, then by the sixth day everything was done already. Then God rested on the what? Seventh day. So whenever you're on the seventh day and you look back, you see 6 days before. No, not anymore. So you know from the Sabbath, it teaches a creation what? Week. So the Sabbath is a sign of a what? Creation week. Did you get that clear idea, brethren? Now the Sabbath is a sign of true family and gender. True family and gender. So now we can go back to the videos. And I want you to pay attention to what you're looking at here. Watch the writings that I myself put on the videos to help you understand.
2018 is already shaping up to be the year of the gay in the church, and we're barely a few hours into it. From that horrific so-called nativity display in St. Peter's Square, complete with a practically naked, buffed-up so-called homeless guy and various other gay-themed displays woven throughout it, to the coming out in Mass during a homily a couple of weeks ago by Milwaukee Archdiocesan priest Father Gregory Greighton, greeted with a standing ovation from the parishioners and the fawning public approval of his Archbishop Jerome Listecki, to the news reports that the man many consider the second most powerful man in Rome, Cardinal Maradiaga, has been protecting a close bishop back in Honduras who has embezzled huge sums of money to keep up his flamboyant and extravagant gay lifestyle, not to mention the constant gay drum being pounded nonstop in the background by Father James Martin. Yep, 2018 sure feels like the year that the gay mafia is going to hit the mother lode in the church. Still think there's not a homosexual clergy problem in the church? And now, so open and so bold has the homo mafia in the church become that they can openly refute not just church teaching in the realm of sexual morality, but any teaching they can use to promote their evil. Latest example, Arthur Fitzmaurice, one of the leading lights of the extremely effeminate, feminized clique in the church. This man has been allowed to say anything he wants at Catholic events that flat out deny church teaching. He has been a regular invitee, for example, at the abominable Los Angeles Archdiocesan Religious Education Congress, also known as REC. Last year at the Rec, he sponsored a talk on how the church needs to accept and welcome transgenderism. You know, the mental illness where you convince yourself that you're the opposite sex. He did so the previous year as well, all with the approval and blessing of Archbishop Jose Gomez, who is much more interested in immigration reform than perverted doctrine flowing from the stage at his conference. The whole gay thing going on in the church, from approval by the bishops to the swarm of gay priests infesting parishes and schools and seminaries, to the speaker circuit populated by professional perverts, the whole thing is aimed at destroying the church because it stands there like a rock, condemning their consciences which are filled with rage. They will stop at nothing to destroy. From raping altar boys, to perverting doctrine, to covering up for one another, to theft and embezzlement, to promoting each other to keep the attacks going, absolutely nothing is off limits to this crowd. And all the while, church leaders are at least silent and complicit at worst. Consider how many billions of dollars you have put in that collection plate that have been used to pay for this perversion. And not just the homosexual clergy sex abuse payouts, but the salaries to keep these men in place, the expensive tuition bills and travel for their bishops to send them to Rome to get fancy degrees so they can come back and give intellectual spin to their perversion of the faith. Right now, given the emasculation of the culture, there are huge numbers of young men who are confused about their sexual identity. They don't know what it means to be a man, and they're being exposed to these perverts in collars and mitres who are preying on them, setting them up to ensnare them in their own evil. That the bishops would be going on nonstop about Trump and the DACA program while this sinister business is taking place right in their own parishes, at their own conferences, heck, on their own websites. This will not go well for them at their judgments. And if you think the gay mafia which runs the Vatican right now is going to be of any help, well, just remember the so-called nativity scene, where the Holy Family was almost an afterthought. Has it appeared odd to anyone else that there are so many promoters of sodomy around Pope Francis? Hardly a week goes by where some outlandish gay thing after another fails to make an appearance in some manner, shape, or form. From reports of the gay orgy in the apartment of Cardinal Coco Palmerio near the end of last year, to Archbishop Paglia's homoerotic painting, to the gay-themed nativity set in St. Peter's Square, to gay cheerleaders Father James Martin and Father Thomas Rosica's special jobs in the Vatican bureaucracy, to a very gay-friendly company running the aspects of the Vatican's communications apparatus, to the infamous line in the Synod on the Family's 2014 midterm relatio that homosexuals have certain gifts and qualities, an idea sneaked into the document by Archbishop Bruno Forte, known to be extremely gay-friendly. It's so much. People are wondering when the dome of St. Peter's is going to be painted pink. And believe us when we say those examples are just the tip of the iceberg. The ascendancy of the homosexual clerical culture really took off in Rome and other quarters of the church decades ago, slowly at first, but then has picked up steam. Pope Benedict even admitted recently that he encountered a group of 4 or 5 homosexual cardinals that he had to deal with. Pope Francis, at the beginning of his pontificate, created international headlines when it was leaked that he admitted privately there was a gay lobby inside the Vatican. Of course, many people became very concerned when the Holy Father appointed Monsignor Battista Ricca to head up the Vatican Bank. Ricca was reported to have carried on a gay relationship with a captain in the Swiss Guard during his time in Uruguay, so notorious, in fact, that clergy there appealed to the Vatican to have him removed. It was Battista, as a sidebar, that Pope Francis was talking about back in 2013 when he gave his well-documented comment, "Who am I to judge?" It's also important to note that privately, various Orthodox types in the Vatican and Rome are expressing deep concern that homosexual practice in the Vatican, quote, has never been worse, closed quote, as recorded this past summer in multiple news reports. The Vatican has been overrun by a gay culture which promotes its own kind from within. The great danger here is, of course, that active gay clergy, or those who support it, cannot be transmitters of the authentic faith. They are living lives, or supporting others who live these lives, which run in complete contradiction to the tenets of Catholicism. Yet, they seem to have control over practically everything in the church, and it has a supporting or trickle-down effect throughout the church. For example, in next month's virtually heretical Religious Education Congress, sponsored by Los Angeles Archbishop Jose Gomez, one pro-homosexualist after another dot the lineup of invited speakers. Privately, here in the U.S., priests will tell you that a gay mob runs practically every level of the church, which we have ample proof of in Cardinal Timothy Dolan's Archdiocese of New York. Last month, a homosexual priest came out to his parish at Sunday Mass in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, and Archbishop Jerome Listecki praised him and said Catholics should support him. Father James Martin is allowed to openly lie about church teaching in parish after parish and diocese after diocese, and practically no one in the hierarchy says a word. In fact, just the opposite. They come out and support him and even one-up him in their assaults against the faith, saying gay couples can receive Holy Communion, as Cardinal Blaise Supich did in Chicago, or that we can just ignore all that sin stuff and have a pilgrimage for gays, like Cardinal Tobin did in Newark, New Jersey. And on the other side of the Atlantic, Cardinal Reinhard Marx has come out publicly and said the Church should begin blessing same-sex unions, something Archbishop Johann Bonny of Antwerp, Belgium, had already called for a couple years ago. All over the Church in the West, calls for the embracing of sodomy from the hierarchy are accelerating and increasing in volume. They style it as respect and compassion and human rights. But what is at the heart of this is sodomy, plain and simple. Nobody is saying that people struggling with their crosses, whatever type of cross they have, should be treated in any other way other than compassion and respect. Of course they should. It even says that in the Catechism. But it is a bridge too far to call on Catholics to accept the sin, thinly veiling it as love when it is anything but love. Call it what is. It's sodomy. And these bishops and cardinals cannot support what they claim to support without also supporting that. These gay unions that they want to bless, uplift, and support are unions centered around the belief that sodomy is a perfectly legitimate expression of their feelings of love for each other. At some point, reasonable minds have to pose the question, is the reason so many prelates and cardinals are pushing so hard for something that affects so few people because they are homosexuals themselves? Seriously, if Martians landed on Earth tomorrow, all of them would think that the church was the gay rights lobby in robes. It's practically all they ever go on about. These men are sowing confusion and error in the hearts and minds of the faithful, as well as promoting an evil agenda which the world embraces, and they are using, or rather abusing, their authority and their influence to do so. They have found in Pope Francis, who cares about mercy even to the point of allowing confusion to foster, a man whose strings they can easily tug, using that mercy argument to hide their real agenda, which is an overthrow of the church.
Next one, Adventist Church now. The Catholic Church is riddled with sodomy. Did you know that? Yes. But look at how much. But you see, that happens when you reject the seventh-day Sabbath. Because the seventh-day Sabbath shows that God created a family. Male and female created He. Yeah. Okay? And then He told them to be fruitful and what? Multiply. So He created what? Male and female in the family. And then He said He identified as male and what? Female, which is how much gender? Two genders. So the seventh-day Sabbath points to a real family, is a sign of the real family and true gender. So we want to hear the Adventist Church now, and they are apostatizing from the seventh-day Sabbath. They themselves are now speaking against the Sabbath.
One thing, this degree, is it saying Seventh-day Adventists?
Yes, because he is the president of the General Conference.
But you can't hear it.
And here you still are. couple years later, and I'm very glad that you joined us. For those of you who don't know, Rhonda is one of our newest elders here.
And tonight we will talk about Adam and Steve. Remember, Adam wasn't lonely. And had God made Steve, Adam wouldn't have had a problem. And I felt like that was safe. Have the soul connection, have the Jonathan David connection, but just don't go too far. That was my original thinking. But then things started changing for me from that. But God will change his mind because we change. The game changes, and God will adjust based on the circumstances. Why wouldn't he? And Lori, this whole idea that conversion, if we can just pray over you enough, we can actually rewire you. It doesn't happen that way.
Okay, blessed be the homosexuals, my people. Oh, it still doesn't get you. It still doesn't get you. Okay, blessed be the transgendered, my people. Oh, yeah, okay. Blessed be the lesbians, my people. So you better get ready. You better get ready. You better get ready. You better get ready for a revolution. Because guess what? Caitlin is coming. Now, I don't know how we going to handle that. But Caitlin is coming.
Male and female genders and all these sorts of things mix up suddenly. Right, so it symbolizes sodomy in everything. Right, so my dear brother, you see that there, whenever you reject the seventh-day Sabbath, destruction takes place in the real family and in gender. Because God created male and female, created he, them. That's what the Bible says. So that the true family of genders is literally symbolized, or the sign of it is the seventh-day Sabbath. Now if you observe, you have a 6 days work week. All you have to do is to look at the Sabbath clause, and you will see the Sabbath symbolizes, or the Sabbath points to, or the Sabbath is a sign of a 6-day work week. So God wants you to rest. He said 6 days shall thou what? Labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is what? Sabbath of Yahweh thy God. So God wants you to work how much days? 6 days. So the Sabbath points to and is a sign of a 6-day work week. Now you will also see the Sabbath as a sign of God sustaining creation. Sustaining creation. He created and you have to sustain. Let's look at the sustaining in Scripture. You look at John chapter 5, 16 and 17. John chapter 5, 16 and 17. Watch this. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. Heal people on the Sabbath day. So he had done this thing on the Sabbath day, so they persecuted Jesus. But Jesus answered them, my Father worketh hitherto what? I work. Did you see that? So Christ's answer for the works he was doing on the Sabbath to heal people was, my Father is working. Therefore what? I work. In other words, because it is the Sabbath day, God doesn't stop maintaining us. Or else you'll all what? Die. So, my Father worketh, he said, hitherto what? I work. So the Sabbath becomes a sign of God Is that understood, my dear friends? Remember the disciples and other people were with Jesus, and you must remember that Jesus healed on the Sabbath. So the Jews pointed him out and said, you're breaking the Sabbath. And Christ is showing that I am sustaining creation. So he says, my Father will do, listen to what? I will, on the Sabbath. So the Sabbath becomes a sign of God's work, sustaining of creation. Is that understood, my dear brother? But one of them that touches me most, which I like the most, is the next one. The Sabbath is a sign of justification, which in your Bible is called recreation. First, let's look and see justification. Romans 3. We look at 24 and 22. Romans 3. First, and then 22. Here is verse 24. Follow what it says. Being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in what? Christ Jesus. So notice we are being justified freely by his grace. So you're looking at justification here, right? Let's see what happened at justification, verse 22. Even the righteousness of God, which is through faith of Jesus Christ, into all and upon all them that believe, for there is what? No difference. So justification gives you the righteousness of God into you. The Greek word is is, into, not upon. So in other words, when you are justified, the righteousness of God comes where? Into you. Is that understood, my dear brother? Do you get that where? Right. This same righteousness of God dwells in us through faith, the faith of Jesus Christ. Watch out Philippians 3:9. Philippians 3:9. Philippians 3:9. It says, and be found in him, not having my own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Christ, the righteousness which is of God upon the faith. That's the Greek text. So you have faith as a plate, and righteousness of God is what? Upon it being given to us. So we know the righteousness we get is by the faith of Jesus Christ. Okay, my dear brother? When you have Christ in you, the Bible says you are a new creation. Amen. Look at Ephesians 3:17 and 2 Corinthians 5:17. Ephesians 3:17. Verse 17 of Ephesians 3. That Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith, or through the faith, according to the Greek text, that ye being rooted and grounded in love. So Christ dwells in your heart through the faith. That's what the Bible tells you. Okay? So that they are rooted and grounded in love. 2 Corinthians 5:17. It tells us, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he's a what? A new creation. What does it say? All things are passed away. Behold what? All things are passed away. So to be in Christ means Christ is where? In you. And you are a new creation. So Christ dwells in you through the faith, which you have been justified by. So you are a new creation. Is that understood? Is that understood? New creation means recreation. The only thing here is that this creation work on us starts with our mind. Being transformed with the renewing of your mind. You have to literally look at yourself a different way. When you lie down in your bed, you're walking in the street, recognize that God is doing something to your mind. He's recreating your mind. You see the difference with Adam was this. When God created the body of Adam, he then created the mind of Adam, and also caused Adam to be raised up, conscious, with the image of God, or with God in him. This is what happened. But the difference than us now, we have the body already, but the body is in revolt. So what God does, he doesn't create the body first. He starts with the what? Mind first this time. And tell you, let that mind be in you which was also in. And let him learn to take control of that body. Amen. So what is he doing to your mind? Adding truth to truth to truth, giving you the character of Christ, destroying old ideas, giving you new ideas about the kingdom of God. That's how he is recreating us. That's the work going on right now in recreation. That's how you're being recreated. That's why you must interfere with that work. By stopping that work taking place in your mind. Because after your mind is recreated, then God will give you a new body. Amen. Amen? In the resurrection. So let's look at how the Bible puts it in Colossians. Sorry, 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 4, first of all. 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 4, and then we look at Colossians 3, 9 and 10. 1 Peter chapter 4, chapter 3, sorry, verse 4. Wherein, verse 4, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God a great price. So here the Bible speaks about the hidden man of your heart. You have a hidden man in your heart, that's your born again self. That's your born again self, that hidden man in your heart. So that man now is a new creation. Let's see what happens to it. Colossians 3, 9 and 10. Colossians 3, 9 and 10. Here's what it tells us. Lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man, which is deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge, after the image of him that what? Created him. So you have a new man. And that new man is being built up with knowledge being added to it. That's the new creation taking place now. And since creation is reflected by the Sabbath, since the Sabbath is a sign of creation, recreation is just the same as creation. Done over. So then the Sabbath becomes a sign of recreation. Is that understood, my dear brother? And it's the same thing with the resurrection. The resurrected body is a new body, and new creation too. So since the Sabbath is a sign of God creating, the Sabbath will be the sign of the what? Resurrection. That's why if you honor the resurrection, you're supposed to accept the Sabbath. Amen. Is that understood? The Sabbath is a sign of salvation also. Let's just look at it. Sign of salvation. In your Bible, God delivers you away from sin. Acts 3, 26. You will see away from there. It says this, verse 26, unto you first, God, having raised up his son Jesus, sent him to bless you, in turning what? Away every one of you what? From his iniquity. Notice the word away what? From. And that's the reason why salvation is always away what? From sin. Did you see that? Now if God delivers you away from sin, your Bible tells you this happens by justification. Because we are told the old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not what? Sin. For he that is dead is what? Justified from the sin. And it tells us that we need to say that you are made sin-free according to Romans 18. But if you are made sin-free according to Romans 18, Romans 6:18. Let's look at it. Romans 6:18. If you are made sin-free according to Romans 6:18, it says, being then made free from sin. Did we see that? You become what? The servant of righteousness. So we know for sure, when God justifies you, he makes you become what? Sin-free, away from sin. You now become a servant of righteousness. That justification is also identified as sanctification. Look at 1 Corinthians 6. 9 to 11. 1 Corinthians 6, 9 to 11. Yes, 1 Corinthians 6, 9 to 11. Let's look at it. Know you not that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor adulterers, nor what? Effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. And such were some of you, but ye are what? Washed. But ye are what? Sanctified. But ye are what? Justified in the name of the Lord Jesus and by the Spirit of our God. So we see justification is also called sanctification. Our salvation. Justification is also called sanctification, which is separation from what? Sin. Let's see what that sanctification is a symbol of. That separation from sin, or sinfulness, or salvation. Let's see what. Let's see how the Sabbath is a sign of it. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. It says, moreover also, I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Yahweh, that what? Sanctifying. So the Sabbath is a sign of being separated from sin, away from sin, which is salvation. But since it is separation away from sin, then that is what? Sin-freeness. So the Sabbath is a sign of what? Sin-freeness. Do you get that kind of idea, brethren? Also the 144,000. The Sabbath is a sign of the 144,000. How? The Bible tells us the Heavenly Father's what? Name written where? In their forehead. And the sign of the name Yahweh is the Sabbath. So the Sabbath is the sign of the 144,000. Obviously they will keep it. You see the logic? Okay? It is obviously the sign of the seal is the seventh day Sabbath. Remember the sealing takes place in the foil with the name of God? Remember that? The sealing takes place in the foil with the name of God. Now since the sealing takes place in the foil with the name of God, and the name of God, the Sabbath is a sign of that name. If you are sealed by that name, then the Sabbath is a sign of the what? Sealing. Indeed, it's the Sabbath you're sealed with. Amen, brother? The Sabbath is also a sign of the remnant church. How do we know that? And the jargon we are told, here is the patience of the saints. Here they that keep the what? The commandments of God and have the what? And the dragon was going to the what? Woman. Go ahead. With the what? Remnant of the seed. Which one? Keep the commandments of God. And have what? Since the remnant church keep the commandments of God, they have the faith of Jesus Christ, and the seal or the sign is the seventh day Sabbath. So, think about the remnant church keeping the commandments of God. If they're keeping the commandments of God, who is written in their forehead? Father's name. If they are keeping the commandments, are they sin free? Yes. So two things. The Father's name is here in their mouth, and they are what? Sin free, because they keep the what? Commandments of God. Amen? And since that sin freeness is identified as separation what? From sin, away from sin, it would mean to say that the remnant church keep the commandments of God because they are separated away what? From sin. But if they are separated away from sin as the remnant church, you must remember one important thing here. That separation from sin is sanctification. And the Sabbath is a sign of Yahweh sanctifying us. So then therefore, the Sabbath is a sign of the what? Remnant church. That's why if you belong to the remnant church, you will be keeping the Sabbath. Remnant church. Okay? The Sabbath is a sign of the new heavens and the new earth. Remember, the new heavens and the new earth are created, right? So if God created the old heavens and the earth, and now He created what? The new heavens and the new earth, and the Sabbath was a sign of God's creating the old heavens and the old earth. Then the Sabbath will be a sign that God has created what? The new heavens and the new earth. So that's why the Sabbath becomes the sign of the new creation. Amen, brethren? There are a whole set of scriptures here that shows that. I know you will find it shocking. The Sabbath is a sign of global world peace, but let's not refer to that this morning. Sabbath is a sign of global world peace. How do you know? The Bible tells you when the Sabbath is transgressed, that the curse devours the earth. Let's look at it. Isaiah 24, 5 and 6. Isaiah 24, 5 and 6. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants here because they have what? Transgressed the laws. What else? Change the ordinances. What else? Broken the everlasting covenant. Now what is the everlasting covenant? In Exodus 31:16, we are told the Sabbath is the everlasting covenant. In Exodus 31:16, we are told the Sabbath is the what? Everlasting covenant. So since they have broken the everlasting covenant, it is the Sabbath they have broken. When they break the Sabbath on you, what happens? Let's read. We read again. Verse 5 and then verse 6. We read. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and go and they that dwell therein are what? Desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are what? Burned and what? Fuming. Did you see that? So you want global world peace, prosperity, security? The seventh day Sabbath is the sign of that. Is that understood? If you could get the whole world to accept the seventh day Sabbath, the earth wouldn't have to be destroyed, so crime will drop all over the world. Nobody will want to fight anybody with weapons. Okay? So now, the seventh day Sabbath is the sign of the full gospel being restored or made up. We studied this last week, that when the seventh angel sounded, the mystery of God, which is the gospel, should be what? Complete or what? Made up. When the angel sounded, that seventh angel, the judgment began on the church. We found that out. We found out that the law is the standard of that judgment. We found out that if you break one, you're guilty of what? All. We found out the one that was being broken is the one that was restored, which is the seventh-day Sabbath, according to Isaiah 58:12-14. The one that was broken, the mistake they were making, is the Sabbath, which was restored. This means that the sign of the restored full gospel could be nothing else but the seventh-day Sabbath. Proof of it, turn to Revelation 14.
Yeah. I just want to say that, Brother Madi, you're making a statement that you're talking about world peace and the Sabbath, and the average person is saying, what is Sabbath good? Understand? What does world peace have to do with the Sabbath? You know, so some people may think, you know, the brother is going on and on, but I am saying, if people really live according to the principles that you have shown, that people have to live holy, that people have to do the right things, all these things will be the natural outcome is that you have world peace. Right, so the natural outcome is that people will be keeping the commandments of God. Yes.
So next time you see the word in term, it's the Sabbath only. Okay, watch this one down. So when the full gospel was restored, the mistake people were making is the seventh-day Sabbath, which was restored, according to Isaiah 58. This will be the seventh-day Sabbath, is the sign of the restored what? Gospel. Is that understood? Now you also have the seventh-day Sabbath as a sign of what? Anti-popery and what? Anti-Sunday. Is that not evident?
Yes.
Do we have to go through all prophecies to show you that? Is that not evident? That the seventh-day Sabbath is a sign of anti-popery? The seventh-day Sabbath shows that Yahweh is what? God. Therefore you can't say the Pope is God on earth. The seventh-day Sabbath shows the 7 days you what? Sabbath. Therefore you cannot follow what? Sunday. So, the Sabbath is a sign of what? Anti-popery and what? And last but not least, it is a sign of the true people of God. You know this scripture. Let's look at this last scripture. In Hebrews, chapter 4. 9 and 10. Hebrews chapter 4, 9 and 10. And here is where we close off. We read verse 9. There remaineth therefore a word here is Sabbatismos. That's the Greek word. And the word Sabbatismos means Sabbath keeping. So let's read it the right way. It says here, again, there remaineth therefore a Sabbath keeping to the people of God. For he that is entered into Yahweh's rest, he also has ceased from his own works, as God did what? From his. Amen, brethren? So the Sabbath is a sign of the true people of God. So here's the point now. Why did I show this? If the Sabbath has all this meaning, shown by many scriptures here, which if I were to go on, will go on until 7:18 a.m. But you want to get. If the Sabbath is a sign of these 20 points here, what does it show? It shows us the value of the Sabbath. It shows us why you should keep the Sabbath holy. It shows us why you should not allow Sabbath keeping to be destroyed in your life. And it shows why you should make every effort to keep the 7th-day Sabbath holy. Because it is a sign of all of this. That's how important it is for you. And that's the reason why you cannot be negligible about this. Let me tell morning, my dear brother, trouble is coming up on the face of the city. Trouble is coming up on the face of the city. Brother.
Through these 20 points, through these 20 points, you understand the experience of Christ when he said the Sabbath was made for man. Then through these 20 points, you catch it, you understand what he meant. You understand how it benefits you and your salvation.
We could have gone further. Psychological peace is given by Yahweh dwelling in your heart. The Sabbath is the sign of Yahweh. Therefore, it is the sign of psychological peace. So a person has great peace. And they got what? See? You see? So we are about to 21 and then go on and on. But it just shows us how important it is to keep the Sabbath holy. Yes, Lord.
You know, I see this and start. When you put up the children, we throw.
Yeah.
We just say we keep the Sabbath. The text, Brother Michael just quoted, right? Mark 2:27. Sabbath was made for man. The Sabbath keeps us. We keep the requirements of the Sabbath, but the Sabbath keeps us from idols. It keeps us from idolatry. It keeps us from false God. It keeps us from apostasy. So you know, the Sabbath is synergistic. What a man.
Because of apostasy. Amen. So you have everything here. So in the future, when you are trying to be the Sabbath, you can point to any of these. Amen. Amen? And show people from Scripture. Exercise the mind in Scripture. And do not be weary in well-doing. You didn't hear that word? Now, as I said, well, trouble is coming up on the face of the earth. Before the trouble comes, God must warn people. You don't know copies now of our literature has gone to Donald Trump. And copies now have gone to President Putin in Russia. Pray for these leaders that God will make them accept the content of these books and be converted. You have to understand this is the remnant church. This is the one that will close off history of this earth. This is the one that will do the work. This is the one that will do the work. You have to ask God to help you. Are you listening to me, my dear brother? You have to ask God to help you do this. Those of you who are getting baptized, we cannot just put anybody down in the water. You have to be ready by morality. So while you have the challenge before baptism comes up, deny wrong, dedicate yourself to God, and seek help in dealing with certain problems that keep you back. This church must not drop the standard. We must have a high standard, because each and every one of you must be a high standard for the world. And this is the reason why give yourself that chance to develop. We do all that we can do. You give yourself a chance to develop. If you know you're not ready, make yourself ready. And if you know you're still not ready, don't rush. The just shall live by what? Faith. And you want people who are truly dedicated. Because in the long run, lack of that dedication is going to cause you to give a bad name to the cause of God. And this church has a higher standard as you see than the others. This church was raised by God. God always raises the truth through justification by faith. That's how this church started. With what? Justification by faith. That's what the revival always starts with, even in the days of Luther. And that's why this church is the true church of God. We started with righteousness, what? By faith. The foundation of everything. So you cannot be complacent. You have to mean it. You have to be serious. We give as much help as possible. Somebody say, but Medina, why you say we? Who is the we? Everything we do, we must do by the Holy Spirit. So when I say we, I mean myself and the Holy Spirit leading me. So that It is the work of the Holy Spirit in us, helping us. We must submit to this. Is that understood, my dear brother? So in conclusion, you know what it means to keep the Sabbath now. Do you worship God on that day? Every day. So how do you keep the Sabbath again? Amen? So watch this now. Remember, when you say keep the Sabbath, what do you mean? Fulfill the Sabbath. By faith. Being converted. You understand now, okay? So may God add his blessings to you as you take these things into consideration. Please let us come. Let us pray. Gracious, loving Father, please be with us as we go on our ways. Keep us safe from all harm, struggles, dangers, and accidents. But even more, help us to keep the seventh-day Sabbath holy, knowing very well what the Sabbath is a sign of. May we submit to this sign, that we will truly be the people of God, the remnant church. That we will truly be the 144,000 sealed saints. Help us in this matter, we ask of you. And please let us not be weary in well-doing, but dedicated to your cause. Through Jesus Christ our Savior we pray. Amen.